"You have got to be kidding me," Warwick said after he opened the motel door. There, standing in front of him, was Damara. She stood with her arms crossed. Her neat, shiny braids were pulled back into a band behind her head. "You weren't answering your phone," she said. "Maybe it's for a reason," he sneered. "How the hell did you find me?" Damara held up her phone and said, "You shared your location with me a long time ago." "Shit," Warwick said, cursing how stupid he was. Concerned, Meliny came up to the door. Damara looked at her and then to Warwick with a sly smile. "Who's this?" she asked. Warwick sighed as he said, "Meliny, this is Damara." He looked at her with narrowed eyes as he added, "The liar." "Please let me explain," Damara pleaded. "No," Warwick said as he began to shut the door. But Meliny stopped it. "Come on, Warwick," she said. "Hear her out." Warwick huffed and turned around, taking a seat on the bed. Meliny sat down beside him. Damara closed the door behind her and took a seat in the desk chair across from them. "So, start," Warwick demanded. "I want to know everything." Damara went quiet for a moment, then said, "I knew your mother." Warwick's jaw fell open for a moment as if to speak, but he decided to let Damara say her piece. She continued, "She knew about magic, just like I do. So when I heard about what happened, I knew I had to take care of you. I had to help you forget. The weight of everything was making you so sick, so I hid that memory away from you. I see now that I shouldn't have. I took away your choice to remember." Her apology struck deep within him. He still wanted to be angry with her, but he found he couldn't raise it to the same level as before. "I also didn't want you to go on a revenge rampage," Damara added. "The Goatman is dangerous, you know this. But I think I know of a way to banish him forever. We just need to find another one of those Zilberstein pieces like the one around your neck." Meliny and Warwick looked at each other and smiled. They caught Damara up on everything. Then Meliny asked the question that hung heavily over them. "Where do you want to start? Yes, we have your tracking ability, but we have to pick a place to start." Warwick looked around and saw there was a small town at the foot of the mountain range. "It looks more like a tourist trap these days, but we might get some valuable information." Meliny and Damara nodded in agreement.
Nope.
Warwick cooked them a marvelous dinner of steak and potatoes. Meliny looked over and said, "Do you know what a vegetable is, baby?" Warwick chuckled. "If we pull this stunt off, I'll cook you broccoli. Every night." "Every night?" smirked Meliny. "So you planning to keep me around, huh?" Warwick paused his cooking and looked at her beautiful face. "Yeah, I want to keep you around." "So what if I turn out to be a serial killer?" she joked. Warwick responded in a solemn voice. "Baby, if you turn out to be a serial killer, I'll help you bury the bodies." "Oh, that is so sweet," she said with a bright smile. Warwick laughed and joked. "Well, odds are we either get lost in the mountains, get captured by the Rev, or if we get lucky, just murdered." Meliny said, "Damn, that's grim. But yeah, we're going all in on this. We win huge, or we lose everything." "Exactly. And if we somehow win, then we can figure out our future. No reason to make plans or promises to each other past this craziness." The next morning, they loaded Warwick's truck and headed for Goldfield. Zukwick had a fabulous time hanging her head out the window as they drove down the road. It wasn't a long trip, and within an hour they parked. It was fairly crowded. They left all their gear in the truck and walked around, hoping to get some info on where the Lost Dutchman Mine was. They didn't have to look far before finding a tour group. Having no better ideas, they joined up. "Greetings, everyone, and welcome to Goldfield," the tour manager said. In the 1890s, this town was booming, with 3 saloons, blacksmith shops, and even a brewery. It was on the verge of outgrowing Mesa. But when the gold-bearing ore started to dry up, the town slowly died and turned into a ghost town. The tour manager kept talking about the attraction's different services. Warwick, holding Zukwick's leash, grew impatient. "Where is the Lost Dutchman's Mine?" A teenager in the group shouted. "Ah, yes," said the tour manager. "The Lost Dutchman's Mine, long sought after and holding the world's attention, for over 150 years. If I knew the exact location of that treasure trove, I assure you I wouldn't be standing in front of you today working for minimum wage." That brought chuckles and sympathetic moans from the crowd. He continued, "Not to worry, folks, I come from a very wealthy family and work here only for social interaction. That being said, don't feel shy about tipping me later." So the exact location of the mine is lost to the ages. Treasure seekers and academics have been searching for it since the Civil War. The most promising lead is a riddle that reads, "The location you seek is in the cougar's gaze, deep beneath the hidden maze." The cougar refers to the strange effect of the sun's position for a few weeks a year. It shades the peaks in a cougar form along its cliffs. Lucky for you all, if you care to witness the effect, it's happening now. The best view is from Highway 60, a state-run scenic site that marks the spot. Also, our general store has dozens of books on the subject. Now, if you all would be so kind as to follow me, I'll show you how to pan for gold. Warwick, Meliny, and Damara left the tour and headed to the general store. "We need a map, just to get a general layout of the mountain," Damara said. The three got to the store with Zukwick in tow, but the clerk instantly booted them out. "No dogs allowed," said a disgruntled worker. Warwick led Zukwick back outside and muttered, "Wonder if they allow rhinos, jerk." Meliny said, "We'll run in and get what we need." Meliny and Damara shopped for a map of the mountain and passed a book that caught Melony's eye. The Superstitions of Superstition Mountain. Meliny picked it up and read the introduction. This book is a recording of all the myths of the mountain range, from the ghosts of long-dead miners to the headless soldiers of the 1900s, along with the Apache warriors who did the beheading. It also covers the darker rumors of giants and witches. Meliny added the book to her purchases and left. The four of them left the tourist trap and got back in the truck, looking for a scenic stop to see the cougar's shadow. The drive was far longer than expected. "Holy crap, this mountain range is massive," groaned Warwick. "It really is. Thank God we have your built-in homing beacon." "No. Wonder so many people get lost and die up there," Meliny said. Warwick cringed at the thought. They came upon a crowd of cars on the side of the road and pulled over. They joined the group of onlookers to witness the unforgettable spectacle of a cougar's shadow spanning thousands of feet across the cliffs. Warwick studied the shadow, trying to figure out what direction it might be pointing to. "Look at its paw, Daddy," said a little girl as she pointed out the paw. The girl's father said, "Oh, well sighted, my love." Meliny overheard this, studied the paw, and dismissed it. "Warwick, this whole thing is ridiculous. Why would Hismer give a damn about some shadow? If I were him, I'd find the most obscure hole in the ground I could and bury it deep. I wouldn't camp out at this spot at this time of year looking for some shadow." Warwick stared at the incredible spectacle of a mile-long panther stretched across the cliffs of the mountains. Its outstretched paw, reaching as if to catch prey, made him disagree. "How can this not be a sign?" he said in a hushed voice, not wanting other spectators to hear. "Look at how precise the shadow is. It's clearly reaching out to a specific point." Meliny blinked a few times and asked, "So that big cat is pointing to the Lost Dutchman Mine, correct?" Warwick responded, "How can it not be? Like in Indiana Jones and the Lost Ark, Indiana had to find that weird staff and that miniature city and place it in a specific spot. Then at the right time, the sun poked through the hole and hit the gem in the staff just right, so the beam lit up the exact spot where they had to dig. That panther is our staff with a gem, and this spot at this time of year is our sunbeam. That panther's claw is marking the spot." Warwick finished his tirade with a flourish. Meliny and Damara stood there open-mouthed in exasperation. Damara asked, "Do you think Hismer stood at this spot 150 years ago, waiting for the panther's shadow to point to where he should dig his mine? Mind you, we had to drive over 45 minutes away from where he lived to get to this point. Doesn't it make sense since he would shave 50 miles? He had to walk on foot carrying all the tools he would need and just make a straight shot into the mountains?" Warwick pondered this momentarily and said, "So perhaps it is. The other way around?" Meliny and Damara waited with sarcastically bated breath for his brilliant deduction. Warwick smiled widely. So, you're saying that after Hismer found his gold mine, the cat, shadow manifested to point to it? Damara asked. Warwick's grin turned into a questioning frown as he tried to decipher her reasoning. We know Hismer lived in the 1860s, right? Warwick nodded. When do you figure this massive mountain range sprouted from the earth? Warwick realized his timeline was off by hundreds of millions of years. This mountain range is rife with rumors and myths, Damara said. Assuming the Lost Dutchman's mine is real, then we need to do our best to dismiss salesman propaganda. The three returned to the truck and backtracked to where they knew Hismer had lived. They picked a random dirt road deep into the Superstition Mountains and drove as far up as the truck would take them. The road deteriorated to the point where only dirt bikes could continue. Warwick told them, "That is about all she has got," as he pulled the truck to a stop. Then they dismounted the truck and started to gather their gear. They were overpacked and were having issues deciding what to take and what to leave in the vehicle. Warwick, getting frustrated, said, "We need a damn pack animal to haul all this crap." He picked up a strange multi-tool he had bought on a whim and went to chuck it down the steep road, but had to pause. Standing in the way was a mule with familiar markings. "What in the hell?" Warwick said to himself. He looked around and did not see his dog, but he quickly put it together. Zukwick took note of her master's distress and transformed into the best animal she could think of to help. Warwick approached the mule and locked eyes with her. "You don't mind being our transporter, my friend?" Zukwick pawed the ground and muzzled her head into Warwick's chest. Immense gratitude overcame him. He wrapped his strong arms around the animal and hugged it. The sheer strength of the beast shocked him. It wasn't huge, but Warwick doubted he could get the animal to budge even at a full charge. Meliny had scouted ahead and checked any potential route up the mountain. She was returning to the truck when she came upon Warwick hugging a furry, four-legged beast. She approached the pair slowly and noticed Warwick slightly trembling. "What in the hell is going on here?" she said in confusion. Warwick stood straight, and with his back to her, she saw him make a quick swipe across his eyes. Warwick turned and stepped to the side so Meliny could look at the beast Zukwick had become. "Whoa," she said in shock. Warwick said, "Our sweet Zukwick has become a beast of burden in our time of need." Meliny approached the mule with a concerned look on her face. She slowly reached out to stroke the beast's flank and said, "The road is long and could take a few days. We would never ask you to take this upon yourself." Zukwick stamped her hoof again and made a soft whinny sound, which turned into a loud hee-haw. Warwick and Meliny both laughed at the display, with Warwick saying, "Let's load up." Warwick made an outfit using paracord that allowed him to strap gear onto Zukwick's back. Zukwick didn't seem bothered by the weight, and Warwick took comfort in that. They headed up the trail Meliny had picked out with all their gear in tow. They hiked for hours up the mountain and found a flat spot to take a break. Warwick dug out his canteen, took a hearty swig, and passed it to Meliny. She also took a healthy drink and poured some into Zukwick's food dish, which they had brought. She drank it dry, but she turned her head when offered more. "Amazing," said Damara. "What a marvelous creature you are." Warwick, scouting ahead, said something he had been dreading for weeks. "It's time." Meliny had her back towards him as she tended to Zukwick. Her shoulders dropped, and she slowly turned to face him. "Yes, it is." Warwick took another drink of water and picked up his home-brewed trident for confidence. While facing Meliny and Zukwick, he reached up to his neck and removed his necklace. As soon as the protective charm left his neck, Warwick felt the familiar prickling sensation that told him his abilities were now unrestrained. The mountain air itself seemed to crackle with potential. 176. They continued their ascent, following Warwick's supernatural compass deeper into the Superstition Mountains. The terrain grew more treacherous with each step, but Zukwick navigated the rocky paths with surprising grace in her mule form. It was near dusk on their second day when they heard the first sounds of battle echoing through a distant gorge. The clash of metal, the roar of inhuman voices, and the thunder of massive footsteps carried on the mountain wind. "What in the hell is that?" Meliny whispered, grabbing Warwick's arm. Damara's eyes went wide as she recognized the sounds. Those aren't human battle cries. Following the cacophony, they climbed to a ridge that overlooked a vast mesa. What they saw below defied belief. A massive battle was raging between creatures that belonged in legends, not reality. Crude weapons were locked in combat with dozens of headless colonial soldiers. The soldiers moved with impossible coordination, despite lacking their heads, their muskets and sabers glinting in the dying light. Giants, 20-foot-tall humanoid monsters with. "Holy hell, Warwick," said Meliny. "This is all because you're not wearing your mother's gift?" Warwick, who was enjoying the show, said, "Oh yeah, this is absolutely my fault. It isn't always this entertaining, though." The battle raged with supernatural fury. One giant lifted a headless soldier and hurled him against the rocky cliff face, only to have two more soldiers leap onto his massive arms. But the tide of battle was about to change dramatically. They heard whooping and hollering coming from the distance and the sound of beating drums. From across the gorge came another force in large numbers. "Are those Apache Indians?" asked Meliny incredulously. "I hope so," ha ha ha, laughed Warwick. Sure enough, when they got closer to the battle, it became clear that they were Apache, and they were furious. As the Apache warriors joined the fray, they ran right past a giant and dove headfirst into the soldiers. The headless colonials broke off from the giants as much as they could and attacked the Apache with even more fury than the screaming Indians had mustered up. "So now we know who cut all those dumbasses' heads off," reasoned Warwick with a laugh. "Yeah, I would be pretty upset myself to find the guy that chopped off my head," laughed Meliny, who was settling down enough to joke about the absurd encounter. Across the mesa, barely visible on the opposite ridge, they spotted another group of observers. Even at this distance, Warwick could make out the unmistakable silhouette of Jacoba and his followers. "There he is, that rat bastard," Meliny said, spotting them too. "Let's hope they didn't spot us." They watched as Jacoba's small group became much larger suddenly as his followers came to his side. One of them seemed to be pointing a rifle down at the fight. "What in the hell do they think they are doing?" Warwick asked. "There are hundreds of monsters down there. They plan on mowing them all down?" The battle carried on in full force, with neither side obtaining the upper hand, although there were dozens and dozens of soldiers lying motionless, and several giants were down. Then things got even weirder. A deep, familiar roar echoed across the battlefield, a sound that made Warwick's blood run cold. "Goatman," said Warwick in a terrified voice. "Goatman is real?" whispered back Meliny as she watched the monster's ferocious charge into the battle. "It's what killed my family," said Warwick. "It was a dumb dare our stepdad pulled on us to scare us, but me being me actually summoned the damn thing." "Oh my God, Warwick, I had no idea. I hope you don't blame yourself for it. You were just a kid and couldn't have known." "Well, I just figured it out myself just before I met you. I had developed a serious mental block and grew up not knowing what had happened to them. But now that I think about it, no, I don't blame myself. I blame the Goatman. How many lives has it taken?" They watched as the monster hit the first line of battle in full charge with its head down. It blasted away everything in its path, including a couple of giants. When it rose to its full height, it towered over the giants near it. It was a grand entrance, and usually such dominance would be respected and strike fear into anyone in its proximity. But these were unthinking monsters in their own right, and they did not know fear. The Goatman seemed different, though, more reserved than usual. Instead of its typical blood-crazed fury, it fought almost methodically, as if these kills weren't satisfying its hunger the way human victims did. After what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, the various supernatural forces began to retreat or dissipate. The battlefield fell eerily quiet, littered with the remains of creatures that shouldn't have existed. "We need to keep moving," Damara said urgently. "Whatever. Jacoba is planning. We need to get to the mine first." Warwick nodded, still shaken by the sight of the Goatman. His mirth was stolen by the sight of the beast, and he wanted nothing more than to get far away from it and focus on their mission. "The sooner we get to Hismer's treasure, the sooner you can put This necklace back on and stop the madness, Meliny said. They continued their trek through the mountains, now with added urgency. The battle had served as a stark reminder of what Warwick was capable of unleashing and what enemies they faced. The journey was long and exhausting, but after 2 more days of hiking, following Warwick's supernatural compass, they finally reached what appeared to be nothing more than a barren hillside along one of the mountain peaks. "This is it," Warwick said, feeling the strongest pull he'd experienced yet. "This is what? There's nothing here," Meliny replied, looking around at the seemingly empty mountainside. Warwick began searching methodically around the area. "Look, around for an entrance," he called to the others. They scoured the hillside but found nothing obvious. That's when Zukwick, in her mule form, began sniffing intently at a particular spot about 20 feet from where they were searching. "What's she found?" Damara asked. Zukwick began digging frantically, her hooves scratching at what appeared to be solid ground. But after several minutes of effort, they heard the distinctive sound of hooves hitting wood. "Zukwick, get out of there!" Warwick called. The mule scrambled out of the hole she'd created, which was now about a foot deep. At the bottom wasn't dirt, but weathered wooden planks. "That's a good girl!" Warwick gathered her up in his arms and danced around holding her. Of course! Old Heismer, the crazy bastard, did his best to keep his entrance hidden. Warwick retrieved his shovel and began widening the hole Zukwick had started. The wooden planks were old and rotted, giving way easily to reveal a dark passage leading down into the mountain. "A hidden entrance that no one but us could have found," Warwick said with satisfaction. "No wonder thousands of treasure hunters never located this place." As they prepared to descend into Hismer's hidden mine, none of them noticed the small group of figures watching them from a distant ridge. Jacoba and his surviving followers had tracked them through the mountains, and now they too knew the location of the Lost Dutchman's mine. But first they would have to deal with whatever supernatural guardians Warwick's unleashed power had awakened in the depths below. A deep rumble shook through Warwick, a strange mixture of excitement and fear. "Well," Warwick said, "I guess this is it." The wooden entrance squealed as Warwick pulled on the makeshift door. "Some help would be great," he struggled to say as he groaned. Meliny and Damara stood on both sides of him. They clasped onto the edges of the opening, their hands overlapping. "Ready? Pull!" Warwick ordered. They strained to widen the entrance enough for them to descend. The old wood groaned and cracked, and pieces fell into the darkness below. With grunts and gripes, they managed to create an opening large, enough to climb through. "Everyone all right?" Warwick asked. But their responses fell into the background as what lay behind the opening caught Warwick's attention. He found himself lost in the vast, empty darkness of the mine before them. The light from his headlamp failed to penetrate the darkness. A prickling feeling scratched beneath his skin at the notion of crawling into a seemingly endless tunnel no more than 6 feet wide. "Well," he said, his breath shaky, "here we go, I guess." Meliny stood next to him, placing a hand on the opening. "Sounds like you're scared," she said with a smirk. "Am not," Warwick snapped back, tone more reflective of a child than a grown man. He took a step inside in defiance. A shiver coursed through him, be it from nerves or the air temperature, he wasn't sure. Wooden beams framed the inside of the tunnel in sections, around 10 feet apart. Each piece had a wooden beam on the left and right walls and was connected by a wooden beam across the ceiling. The beams were in varying levels of decay. Some had even entirely fallen from the ceiling or sat askew against the wall. Rusted iron chains hung from the ceilings. Damara took a few steps in front of them, looking around to assess the condition of the tunnel. "You'd be stupid not to be a little scared," she said, her words echoing. "We're walking into a burrow in the earth that was never supposed to be here. Mountains will always take their chance to swallow invaders whole. Watch your step and pay attention." She turned around to make sure they had heard her, only to find Warwick batting away at one of the chains dangling from the ceiling, much like a cat. "That means no fucking around, Warwick," Damara barked. Warwick stopped abruptly, tucking his hands safely behind his back. "I never fuck around," he answered with a smile. Damara sighed, defeated. "Let's just go straight until the mine. Branches off, Then we can have you take off the necklace again." Warwick looked over to the entrance to see Zukwick still in her mule form. "You coming, Zu?" he asked. Zukwick tilted her head in thought. Then her form shrank. She flew over to Warwick and landed on his shoulder as a tiny yellow canary. They walked down the dark tunnel, their footsteps echoing as they crossed the damp dirt. They passed old newspapers, shoes and helmets on the ground, remnants of a time long forgotten. Meliny looked to her left to see a brown, dusty box with the word explosives written on it. "Oh, dynamite," she said with a nervous chuckle. "That's great." "Just don't light a match," Warwick said with a sly smile. They finally reached the part where the tunnel split off into multiple sections. "Warwick," Damara said, "it's time." Warwick nodded. "I don't think I have to say much about how essential it is for you to focus right now, right?" Damara added. "No, but I know you're going to anyway," Warwick said with an eye roll. "We don't want to be trapped in here with a monster or whatever else you can conjure up," Damara scolded. "No, wait, just don't think about that. Just don't think at all." "That's my favorite thing to do," he said with a smile as he took off the necklace and handed it to Meliny. "Focus," Damara said. Warwick closed his eyes, slowly breathing in and out. The prickling feeling in his chest rose as he felt an invisible force drag him to the right. "This way," he said, then put his necklace back on. Eventually, the new tunnel led them to a large room. Old, rusted mining equipment sat decaying within it. Warwick felt small underneath its tall ceiling. Warwick looked around. The room was a dead end. It had to be in there. Then on the floor across the room, something caught his eyes. A square piece of wood sat on the ground with a rusting metal locking system across it. Warwick walked up to it. A strange pull ached inside of him. He swore that he heard a voice telling him to open it. Warwick tried to unlock it, but it wouldn't budge. Then he felt a rumbling below him, and the floor beneath him gave out. "Warwick!" Meliny cried out to him as he fell down into the dark cavern. Warwick groaned, his body aching from the impact. "Fuck!" he swore as he sat up, trying to gain his bearings. "Warwick, are you okay?" Damara called down to him. "Warwick, answer! Are you all right?" "I'm okay," Warwick shouted as he looked up at them. He brought his gaze down to look around the cavern. His breath caught in his throat as his eyes landed upon a skeleton, its flesh long decayed away, its spine twisted in a sickening way. "Damn," Warwick muttered to himself. "He must have fell. What a way to go." Then to the right of it sat two large old leather suitcases. With his heart pounding, Warwick walked up to them. His hands shook as he opened them. "Holy shit," was all he could manage to say as his headlamp illuminated a mound of gold and silver coins and jewelry. His eyes fell on an ornately carved silver dagger. "Toss me a rope," Warwick called back. "I think I found it." They tossed down the end of a long rope to Warwick. He closed the first suitcase and tied the rope around it. The girls pulled it up and away, doing the same for the second one. A small, muffled cry came from where they were. "Meliny, Damara," Warwick called out, unable to see them. "That's it, toss down the rope and get me out of here." They didn't answer, but Warwick saw the rope thrown over the edge and fall down toward him. He climbed up it and hoisted himself over the top. He looked up. It was Barrett who held the end of the rope. Barrett looked at Warwick with a wicked smile. Helena stood behind him. "What?" Warwick said with wide eyes. Jakoba's voice rang out from the darkness. "Turn on the lights, everyone, please." Bright spotlights flashed on around the room. Warwick flinched, his eyes closing at the sight of the harsh light. When his vision adjusted, the room was filled with Jakoba's followers, all armed with firearms. He looked to see the guards, Evans and Peters, gripping Meliny and Damara tight, their hands clamped over the girls' mouths. They stared at Warwick with wide, terrified eyes. Warwick glanced around, but saw no sign of Zukwick. Barrett ran up to him. Warwick struggled in his grasp, but it didn't take long for Barrett to subdue him, twisting his arms behind his back. "Warwick, my boy, what a small world it is, running into you." "Here," Jakoba said with a smile. "What the fuck?" Warwick spat. "Why the hell are you here?" You're still following me? The Lost Dutchman's Mine has always been a sought-after prize, Jacoba answered. I pieced together what I could from the remnants of the map. But you did the hardest part for me? I suppose I should thank you. Barrett nearly tripped backward into the hole as some of the edge crumbled below. Reverend, Helena said, we shouldn't stay here longer than we need to. Let's finish up the interrogation outside. He smiled at her and said, my Helena, as smart as she is ruthless. Then his smile dropped. He looked from Evans and Peters to Barrett and said, restrain and gag them. I don't want to hear anymore. Come on, Rev, Warwick said with an instigating smirk. You want to tie me up and gag me? At least buy me dinner first. I've had enough of your smart mouth, Jacoba snapped back. At least you think I'm smart, Warwick replied, his smirk still. Holding strong, Jacoba growled. Do you enjoy being a nettle in the ass crack of everyone you meet? Yeah, I'm definitely an ass man, Warwick answered. Jacoba, finally having enough, walked away, leaving him to Helena and Barrett to subdue him. Eventually, they made their way outside. Warwick went wide-eyed as he saw dozens more followers waiting for them outside. They all carried firearms, and a dozen ATVs were scattered around them. Warwick found himself pushed to the ground. His knees hit the dirt hard, and his hands were tied behind his back. Jacoba opened one of the cases and sifted through the treasure with wide eyes. Peters and Evans did the same to Damara and Meliny. They finally removed the gags from their mouths, and Barrett did the same for Warwick. Warwick couldn't help but fire off as soon as his mouth was free. He turned his head around to Barrett, his knees still stinging. Easy, he said. I'm sure your ladies like it rough, but not me. Jacoba let out an aggravated sound. He closed the suitcase and walked over towards Warwick. A smile spread across his lips, dripping with venom. You see, here is where I'm about to wipe that infuriating smile off that smug face, he said. He turned his head towards Meliny. Start with the girl. Standing behind Meliny, Peters took out his pistol and aimed it at the back of her head. No! Meliny! Warwick screamed. He looked at Jacoba with fury. Touch her, and I'll slit your fucking throat. There it is, Jacoba said with a chuckle, a peek behind the jester facade that is Warwick Winters. You can have the treasure, take it all, Warwick said, desperation dripping from his words. Just leave them alone. Oh, I'm going to take the treasure, Jacoba said. But first, I need some information. What I need to know, Warwick, is why you want it. What? Warwick answered, breathless. What do you mean? You heard me. Why do you want this treasure? What does it mean to you? Warwick stammered, still weighing if he should tell him the truth. It's treasure. Who wouldn't want it? I want to be rich, just like anybody else. Oh, but Warwick, you are not just anybody else, Jacoba replied. That sigil burned into the skin on your back is a testament to that. I know all about you, about what happened that night the Goatman killed your family. I know that you were marked by him and survived. I know that somehow you can do things that normal people cannot, like successfully using a dowsing rod. I know that you are after pieces made by Zilberstein, who shows up everywhere in my occult studies. But what I don't know is why. Why do you want that treasure, Warwick? No. Warwick's breath trembled as he tried to continue his lie. It's treasure. Teeth, that's it. That's why. We just wanted to find treasure. I see, Jacoba said with a cold, stern face. Very well. He then walked over to Meliny. She squealed as he snatched one of her wrists, holding up her hand. I am going to ask you again, he said to Warwick, pulling out a pair of sharp pliers from his pocket. He held it up to her hand. And each time you lie to me, I'm going to cut off one of her fingers, and we can keep going until she runs out of limbs. Leave her alone, Warwick screamed. I'm going to ask again, Jacoba said, tightening his grip around Melony's wrist. Why do you want this treasure? I don't! Wrong answer, Jacoba bellowed. Meliny screamed as he began to clasp the pliers down around her pinky finger. Stop, 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 Warwick screamed. Jacoba did, leaving Meliny with only a superficial wound. He looked up at Warwick with a smile. Okay, Warwick said, defeated. It's not the treasure, it's just the Zilberstein pieces I need. Warwick, stop, Meliny screeched. Shut up, Jacoba yelled at her. He turned back to Warwick. Keep going. I can enchant them, Warwick admitted. What do you mean, Jacoba asked. I can put spells on them, I guess is what you'd call it. I was born with the ability to make superstitions real. The necklace I have on, I enchanted it when I was a kid. I don't have any control over it, so it keeps me from activating it. Oh, and why don't you want it activated? It takes away one of my senses for a bit. If I do it too much, I might lose that sense forever. Can you enchant it for someone else? I wish. I'd make so much money. Jacoba, knowing Warwick was lying, brought his attention back to severing Melony's finger. No, no, okay, Warwick shouted, stopping him. Yes, I can. Enchant it for someone else. Satisfied, Jacoba let go of Melony's hand. He placed the pliers back into his pocket and walked towards Warwick. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Jacoba stopped in front of him. Now I want you to enchant this ring, he said, removing it from his finger. Do that, and I'll let them go. Warwick, don't, Damara pleaded. I have to be able to touch it, Warwick said. Jacoba nodded to Barrett, who cut Warwick's bindings. Warwick gingerly took the ring. What do you want it to do? I want it, Jacoba said, to have the power to bring the dead back to life. Warwick's eyes went wide. I don't know. I've never done anything like that before. Jacoba leaned close, his voice a hiss. Try, or my men will blow. Their brains all over the sand. I'm sorry, Warwick said with a shaky breath as he looked at Meliny and Damara. Then he turned his attention to the ring in his hand. Warwick closed his eyes, a warm feeling rose from his chest, down his arms and into the ring. He breathed in through his nose. Relief washed over him when he realized the roulette wheel had only taken his sense of smell. He handed the ring to Jacoba. Jacoba slipped it on. He gasped. His face went slack, pupils tightening into fine points. He looked to be in a trance. After a moment, color returned to his face, and his eyes resumed their normal state. Did it work? Warwick asked. Not exactly like I'd hoped, Jacoba answered, but the ring gave me the knowledge to do it. Thank you, my boy. I'll get to see my wife and daughter again. He flashed Warwick a sly grin as he grabbed the pendant around Warwick's neck. And I'll be taking this as well, he said, yanking the necklace off him. Warwick gasped, panic coursing through him. No, you don't want to do that. I don't know if you've noticed, son, Jacoba replied, but I always do whatever I damn well please. He turned towards Evans and Peters, then looked down at Meliny and Damara. Kill them, he said with a smile. Meliny and Damara cried out as the guns pressed to the backs of their heads. Wait, stop! A deep, feline roar erupted from the darkness. Warwick's mind flashed to all the legends surrounding the mountains. Giants, Black Legion Apaches, the Little People, and headless beings. His primal mind jumped to unlikely possibilities out of fear. They all turned to see a panther charging from the darkness. It leapt onto Evans, clamping its jaws down on his shoulder. Zoo, Warwick said, smiling with relief. He knew it had to be his beloved pet. And then a rumble shook the ground. Out of the darkness emerged a bulky, massive humanoid figure. It stood 20 feet tall, tusks protruding from its mouth. A scream tore from one of the church members, creating a snowball effect of screams. The giant roared and swung its massive hands, sending 3 church members crashing into the rocks. Warwick's hearing went muffled, though gunshots still rang around him. He turned left to see hairy, earth-toned goblins bursting from the dirt. They pounced on the unsuspecting churchgoers, clawing at their heads and biting their faces. Jacoba dropped the necklace in fear, running to seek shelter behind his guards. Warwick turned around to see Barrett grappling with a headless corpse. His eye bulged, and the corpse wrapped its decaying hands around his throat. Warwick watched blasts of light emerge from rifles and handguns as churchgoers ran around in terror, trying to do what they could to kill the creatures Warwick had summoned. Others tried their best to escape to the ATVs, but found themselves thrown off and gored. His attention snapped back to Damara and Meliny. Warwick watched as ghostly Apache warriors ran through Evans and Peters. He stood and grabbed his necklace off the ground, then ran towards Damara and Meliny, quickly working to untie the ropes. He flinched as one of the hairy gremlins raced toward them. Warwick held up his hand and shouted, "Stop!" To Warwick's surprise, the monster froze. Then with an uncertain voice, he said, "Go away?" The creature, unblinking, turned around and jumped upon a different victim. Warwick returned his attention to the girls as another rumble ran through the ground. He watched as the giant fell, knowing they were running out of time. "Grab the treasure in an ATV! Let's go!" he shouted to them, unaware of how loud he was and whether they could hear him at all over the chaos around them. They nodded. Dodging monsters and bullets as they ran, they made it to the ATVs. Warwick took the one with the suitcase in the storage compartment on the back. Zukwick morphed into a monkey and jumped onto Warwick's back, wrapping her arms around him. Meliny and Damara jumped on a two-seater ATV. Gas cans and crossbows sat on the storage pack behind it. Warwick charged forward, running over a gremlin in his path. The girls followed behind. Warwick looked back to see the carnage of the battle still raging. He hoped it would be enough to get them away, and that the bridge to Deliverance Church was no more than a fading nightmare. The noise of the ATVs filled the air as they raced to where they had hidden their truck. Warwick's hearing was still muffled, but it was enough to at least have a conversation. He managed to tie the chain of his broken necklace back together with a rubber band, putting his worries of summoning any more monsters to rest. "I don't know about you guys," Warwick said, climbing off his ATV, "but I say we get the fuck out of here." He walked to his truck, put down the tailgate, and hoisted the suitcases onto it. He sifted through them until he found the silver dagger. "What is that?" Meliny asked. "It's a Zilberstein piece," Warwick answered. "This is what I'm gonna kill him with." "Kill who?" Meliny asked. "The Goatman," Warwick said. Their eyes went wide at his answer. "I'm done with all of this. I don't want to exorcise him and send him back to the Fade. I want him gone forever. I want payback for what he did to my family. I'm going to enchant this with the power to kill him." "No, you can't," Damara exclaimed. "He needs to be exorcised." "Why? Why does it matter?" Warwick snapped back. "It does matter. You can't just kill him," Damara yelled, desperate. "And why is that?" Warwick said as he narrowed his eyes, suspicious. "Why can't I kill him, Damara? What have you been lying to me about this time?" "The Goatman isn't just a monster," Damara said. "When we're at the cusp of life and death, it's the time when our souls are the most vulnerable." "Here we go," Warwick said with an eye roll. "The Goatman isn't just some beast," Damara said with shaky breath. "He's the soul of a man infected by the void. My great-grandfather." Warwick sucked his teeth as he looked at her, fury growing inside him. "So that's really why you never wanted me to know about him? Because you know I'd want to kill him?" Damara paused for a moment on the verge of tears as she answered, "Yes." Warwick walked up to her. A fierce fire raged inside him. "It's my family he killed. I'm going to take him down. It's my choice to make. Or are you going to take that choice away from me?" Damara went quiet and said, "No." Her voice was soft, like that of a child scolded. "I guess you're right. It's your choice." Warwick said nothing more to her as they loaded up the truck and piled in. The rest of the trip to Texas was quiet as tension and uncertainty hung in the air. When they made it to Texas, Damara took them around the town to gather supplies for the ritual. The sun had long dropped. With nerves on edge and tension still strong, they made their way to the old Alton Bridge, where it all began. Damara had a plan. She would set up a circle to ensnare the Goatman. Once done, Damara and Meliny would use the crossbows they took from the ATVs and send a few shots to his arms and legs. Then once down, Warwick would enchant the dagger and deliver the final blow. Warwick stood before the bridge, the promise of revenge buried, any apprehension that seeped in. "Let's finish this," Warwick said, then turned toward Damara. "Set it up." Damara nodded. "This will be one of the hardest conjurings I've ever done. I'll need both of your help to do it." We all must contribute to its setup. She reached down to her duffel bag and pulled out a clear jar containing red liquid. She opened the lid and said, "The spell needs to contain an essence of all of us, to use all of our strength." She held the jar up to Warwick's face and said, "Spit." Warwick gave her a strange look, but eventually did as she said. She handed it to Meliny to do the same, then spat in it herself. Zukwick looked up at her and whined. Damara smiled as she looked down at her. "Yes, I suppose even you too." She ran a hand through the fur on Zukwick's back, gathered a cluster of hair, and put it in the jar. She handed Warwick the jar and a large paintbrush and said, "Warwick, paint a pentacle on the entrance of the bridge. It needs to be a large one. He needs to fit into it." Warwick went to do as instructed. "What is that?" Meliny asked as she watched Warwick start the circle. "Goat's blood, Madam," Damara answered. "A little on the nose, isn't it?" Meliny asked with a scrunched face. "Blood is one of the most powerful tools we carry inside us. It signifies life," Damara answered, "and also death. Oscar's blood was spilled here. The goat's blood symbolizes what his murder turned him into." She reached into her bag, grabbed 5 candles and a lighter, and handed them to Meliny. "Place a candle at each of the corners and light it," she told her. "Candles in rituals and on altars light the way for spirits to find you," she continued. "The blood will draw him to this spot, and the candles will light the way. And the salt already mixed in with the blood will seal him in. But I wouldn't push what little luck we have, so we should make this quick." "Have you made your choice, Warwick?" Damara asked with pleading eyes. "Let's see how I feel when I see him," Warwick said coldly. "Sure," she answered. "Very well. Warwick, once we have him immobilized, you only have one shot. Make it count. Enchant the item at the very last moment, when the magic is most potent." "Now let we say it," she added. They chanted Goatman, Goatman, Goatman in unison. The goat's blood pentacle began to glow red. The middle of the circle turned black, and soon the Goatman rose from it. But this time, when he went to grab them, his arm bounced back as though hitting an unseen force. His nostrils flared and he snarled. No matter how many times he tried to leave the circle, he couldn't break free of it. Warwick unsheathed the dagger and Meliny and Damara raised their crossbows at the beast. "Don't even think about pulling that trigger." Their gazes snapped to the darkness on their left. Out of the shadows stepped the unmistakable form of Jacoba. Helena followed swiftly next to him. Both of them had pistols pointed at the 3 of them. "Put the weapons down, now," Helena demanded. "Then put your hands in the air." Warwick, Damara, and Meliny slowly did as they were told. A low growl rumbled from Zukwick's throat as she lowered her head toward the ground. "Surprised to see you with a gun," Warwick said, looking at Jacoba with a dark expression. "You don't seem like the type to get your hands dirty." "Even a shepherd sometimes has to resort to violent means to protect his flock," Jacoba answered. "Oh, fuck off with the church talk," Warwick said. "Why can't you just fucking die already?" Meliny snapped at him. "What do you want? The treasure?" Warwick asked at the end of his rope. "Whatever, just take what you need, but you can't have me." He narrowed his eyes at Jacoba and sneered. "You'll never have me." "Oh, you already gave me what I wanted," he answered with a sly smile. "Then why the fuck are you here?" Warwick shouted. "Because right there is exactly where we need to be," Jacoba answered. "Isn't that right, Oliver?" A movement out of the corner of Warwick's vision caught his attention. He turned to see Oliver slinking forward from the darkness. He stood next to the circle, right by the Goatman's cloven hoof. "You bet," Oliver answered. He sported a smug, shit-eating look. That Warwick wished he could punch right off of him. "You see, the ring you enchanted for me is going to help me create a little ritual of my own," Jacoba explained. "The ritual must be performed on cursed grounds, and what better way to do that than by helping Oliver with his pact with the Goatman? 2 birds, 1 stone, as they say." "What do you say, you beast of hellfire?" Jacoba looked up, shouting towards the Goatman. His eyes gleamed with darkness. "Ready for your pound of flesh?" The Goatman roared behind his invisible cage. Drool spattered from his mouth as he pounded against the unseen wall. Savage snarls burst from his throat, the possibility of his freedom turning him more crazed. Jacoba, content with its answer, looked back down towards Oliver. "Oliver?" he said with a smile and a nod. Oliver answered him with the same wicked smile. "Happy to help," he said. Then he placed his foot on the salt circle and swiped a section of the salty blood away. The glow of the pentacle faded, and the Goatman charged forward. They ran to get out of his way. Meliny and Damara managed to pick up their crossbows, but only one loosed a shot into his arm. The Goatman roared with fury. His eyes landed on Warwick. Warwick's breath caught in his throat as the Goatman reached out and grabbed him. With one hand, he picked him up and slammed him down into the creek. The crash caused Warwick's vision to darken, then snap back again. He looked up from under the water, seeing a pair of red glowing eyes staring back at him. He couldn't think. All that came to him was panic. Another tall figure flashed above the water. It smashed into the Goatman, and he released his grip on Warwick. Now free, Warwick sprang up, coughing up water, heaving to catch his breath. And then his eyes locked onto the scene before him. The Goatman and another creature who looked exactly like him stood face to face, growling, snarling, and staring each other down. The new Goatman shifted, turning toward Warwick for just a moment, and Warwick saw its icy blue eyes. "Zookwick," Warwick said in awe. Zookwick nodded. Then she lowered her head and charged at the Goatman as he slashed at her with his claws. At the other end of the clearing, out of range of the battle, Jacoba and Helena cast their own circle. Jacoba painted the lamb's blood pentacle, while Helena lit the candles. The circle and said, "Resurrecturus." The circle began to glow red, and a roaring wind encircled them. Jacoba lifted his hands toward. "Yes, that's it," Jacoba said with wide, crazed eyes. "The ritual's almost done." Helena squinted as the relentless wind whipped her hair across her face. "What else do you need, Reverend?" she asked. Jacoba turned toward her. A wicked smile pulled at his lips, and Helena suddenly felt like a lamb in the presence of a rabid wolf. "A bit of flesh," he answered. Helena saw a flash of metal as Jacoba pulled something out of his right pocket. Distracted, she didn't notice his left hand until it was already firmly wrapped around her wrist. She had no time to react before Jacoba brought a sharp pair of pliers to her pinky and sliced it off her hand. Helena screamed in pain as she yanked her hand away, falling to the ground in shock. Her pistol clattered beside her. Blood billowed from the wound. She yelped in pain as she clasped her other hand around it, trying to put pressure on it to stop the bleeding. She brought her hands to her chest, jaw clenched tight. Jacoba let out a sick laugh as he took in the sight of her. "Don't! Bleed out, Helena, or you'll miss a miracle," he said. Helena looked up at him, her mind reeling from the horror of what he'd done. She watched as he bent down toward her severed finger. He picked it up, still plastering that vile smile across his face. "I told Katie and Lorelei that I'd be killing them for a reason, that I would find a way to bring them back to me once I had the power. And now look at me." His wild eyes took in the scene around him. He outstretched his arms and shouted, "I'm more powerful than Aleister Crowley himself." Helena's blood ran cold. Time itself seemed to stop as his confession sank into her mind. You killed them?" she stammered. Jacoba scoffed. "Don't look at me with those shocked doe eyes. Their death was only temporary." The glow of the pentacle in front of him grew brighter. He licked his lips with anticipation. "I knew I'd have the power to bring them back," he said, shaking like an addict about to score their next fix. "They didn't believe me at the time, but now they will, once they see me again. And now that I know how to bring them back, I'll never die." His words had become ramblings to a non-existent audience. His hand clutched tight around the finger. He turned his attention back to Helena. As she looked upon his manic, frenzied face, she felt fear for the first time in a long time. "Don't you see?" he said. "I'll be able to rise again and again. I am the next coming, God's next chosen son. He's given me every step I needed to be right here in this moment. Smile, Helena, for you get to bear witness to the next age of humanity." Jacoba then tossed the finger into the middle of the circle. The light of the circle jumped in intensity, causing them both to flinch. The middle of the circle turned black. The finger sank into the oily abyss. A ghostly hand reached out from the circle and clawed at the grass around it. Two female figures pulled their way out of the ground. Their skin was gray and sunken. They had human-like shapes, but were no more human than the grass they stepped on. Their eyes turned black. No. What? Jakoba's eyes went wide. The figures looked like Katie and Lorelei, but something was wrong. They were wrong. And most importantly, they didn't seem happy to see him. Something inside Jakoba screamed at him to run. But as he turned, the spirits that once were Katie and Lorelei rushed at him with inhuman speed. They clawed at his body as they wrapped themselves around him. "What is this? I'm bringing you back like I promised." He screeched, "Katie, Lorelei, stop!" "You sold your soul to the Fade," Katie's hoarse voice rattled. "Through him, the moment you slid that knife across my throat." Lorelei pressed her cold lips to Jakoba's ear. "You claimed your loyalty to the Fade, David. Now the Fade claims you." They let out an otherworldly, horrid scream as they pulled Jakoba back into the portal, but he managed to clutch onto the edge of the grass, eyes wide as he tried to claw his way back out. "Helena!" he cried desperately. "Helena, please help me!" Hatred and hurt welled inside Helena as she realized the man who'd always been her savior was really just another monster he hunted. She held up her pistol and aimed it at his forehead. "Go to hell, Reverend," she said, and pulled the trigger. His blood and brain matter splattered across the ground. His grip loosened, and in seconds, David Jakoba slipped away into the ground as the portal closed behind him. Across the field, Damara, Warwick, and Meliny watched as the battle between Zukwick and the Goatman raged on. Warwick, tired of feeling useless and helpless, shoved the dagger into his jean pocket and raced back to his truck. He pulled out his trident and snapped open the baton mechanism. Zukwick and the Goatman grappled, wobbling as their arms locked, each trying to overpower the other. Meliny stood just out of reach with her crossbow aimed high, searching for a shot that might immobilize the Goatman for Zukwick. Warwick charged toward the Goatman and swung his baton behind one of its kneecaps. The beast cried out, but it wasn't enough to drop him. His knee buckled for a moment, then straightened. He kicked Warwick aside as if he were nothing more than an annoying cat rubbing at his legs. Warwick rolled across the ground. A hot pain jolted through his left leg as he heard and felt a sickening pop from his kneecap. He yelped as he landed on his back. He reached for his knee but hissed as even the lightest pressure sent a fiery blaze ripping through it. "Warwick!" Damara called out as she raced toward him. Warwick looked up to see Zukwick on her back, with the Goatman's back pressed to her chest. She had her arms wrapped under his armpits and her hands interlocked behind his head, immobilizing his arms. Meliny took the opportunity to fire 2 arrows into each of his thighs. The beast screamed as his once flailing legs were reduced to twitches. Warwick knew the time was now. As Damara knelt at his side, Warwick pulled out the dagger from his pocket. He wrapped both his hands around it and focused his energy. A dim blue light radiated from his hands and into the dagger, enchanting it. As soon as he released the magic into it, his vision blurred, and he began to see. "Fuck!" he hissed in panic. "I can't see! I can't see!" He reached the ground, finally finding Damara's hand. He grasped it and looked up to where he thought her face might be. "Damara," he said, "you have to do it." "What?" she said, the word nearly catching in her throat. "You have to," he said. "I can't move, I can't see. Please." Warwick handed her the dagger. She took it with shaky hands. She snapped her head back as the Goatman roared, struggling in Zukwick's grasp. She knew they were running out of time. She ran towards them, grappling with the thought of saving the world and having to kill her ancestor to do it. She sprinted up to the Goatman's torso and plunged the knife into his chest. The beast let out a sickening roar as a white light burst from its chest. Zukwick jolted back, releasing him, and transformed into her Australian shepherd form. She sprinted back to Warwick, licking at his face in concern. The Goatman's cries turned into gasps and gurgles. The beast weakly made it to his knees and yanked the dagger from his chest. The white light from the wound shone brighter as he screamed. And then the Goatman's flesh began to melt away, sloshing to the ground in a thick, gelatinous puddle. Damara's eyes went wide as the flesh melted away to reveal the form of a man. He glowed an iridescent white. He looked up at Damara with soft eyes. She wept. She had seen photos of him many times before. Her great-grandfather, Clarence Morning. She walked up to him. He placed his warm, glowing hand on Damara's cheek. He closed his eyes and bowed his forehead to hers in a soft, quiet moment of gratitude. 203. Behind them, the oozing, pulsating form that once was the Goatman let out an otherworldly screech. A constantly shifting face struggled to rise from its own gelatinous pool. Disfigured hands clawed at the ground, but they had no strength. Damara looked down to see a chain wrapped around Clarence's ghostly neck. She followed the iridescent chain to where it led, all the way to the grotesque, demonic blob. She placed both of her hands on the chain, channeled her energy, and said, "Demetis." She yanked her hands apart. The links shattered. The chain dissipated into nothing. Now, having no soul to cling to, the demonic entity screamed as an unseen force pulled it back towards the portal on the bridge. It fell into the fade. Clarence gave Damara one last soft look before gazing up at the sky. His eyes closed, and a feeling of endless peace spread across his face as his form broke apart into small white orbs of light that shot upward. Damara's breath shook as she realized the exorcising power Warwick had enchanted into the knife. "Warwick, you," she said with a smile, a tear rolling down her face. Warwick gave her a small chuckle. "I'm a smartass, not an asshole," he said with a weak smile. Then sleep consumed him. The darkness consumed him, cradling him in a cool, silken hammock. His mind teetered on edge, prepared for the ever-present claws that had ensnared him many times before. But nothing appeared in that void. There were no images, no sounds, only comforting silence. He welcomed the change, then felt warmth flow through him. The darkness shifted from black to deep yellow, as though someone slowly pressed up a dimmer switch. A murmur emerged in his ear, like overhearing a conversation on the other side of a wall. As the light grew brighter, the sound grew clearer. "Warwick? Warwick, can you hear me?" The words rattled in his ears as his consciousness crawled back to him. His eyes fluttered, struggling against the growing light of early morning. He groaned as he felt two fingers press against the side of his neck. "What?" he managed to mumble. The hand slipped away. The slight motion ached through his entire body and up into his face. It carefully pried open one of his eyes. He winced as she flashed a bright beam directly at him. Warwick grunted, swatting the hand away. "Stop!" he snarled, irritated. He scrunched his face, fighting against disorientation and nausea. Soon he became aware of the twigs and leaves poking and scratching beneath him. With slow, sore movements, he tried to prop himself up on his elbows. He blinked his eyes into focus. A woman knelt beside him, her latex-gloved hand wrapped around a flashlight. The sun sat behind her head, shooting beams of light through her curly hair. The patch on her heavy navy blue jacket read EMT. "You need to lie down," the EMT said firmly. Her other hand grabbed one of his shoulders, trying to push him back. "I'm fine," Warwick snapped. He groaned. The motion and the sudden volume of his voice made him realize how badly his head pounded. "Warwick!" A cracking, jarring voice rang out from his left. Soon he felt firm arms squeeze around his shoulder in a tight embrace. He winced and hissed at the pain, ready to scold whoever had grabbed him. "Ow, stop!" he barked, but then froze when he saw it was Meliny. Her wide, bloodshot eyes brimmed with tears, and her cheeks were damp. "I thought you fucking died," she sobbed. "You can't leave me. Like that." No. A chill ran through him at the sight of Melony's vulnerability. A strange flutter stirred in his stomach. "Nah," he said, trying to smile through his split lip. "It'll take more than that to take me out." The EMT tried to tend to him again. He brushed her away once more. "Really," he said. "I'm okay." The EMT gave him an unsatisfied look but walked off. Warwick pushed himself upright. He looked around the clearing to see it filled with about 30 people. Ambulances and park ranger vehicles sat nearby. A dozen or so people, unkempt and clad in tattered fabric, were scattered across the ground. Some stood talking to police officers while others sat in ambulances. EMTs wrapped them in foil blankets and inspected them for wounds. "Where's Oliver?" Warwick asked. "Who are all these people?" "That little shit got away. Jacked one of the ATVs," Meliny answered, then motioned around them. All the prisoners of the Goatman, she continued. When Damara cast out the fade from Clarence's soul, there was nothing to tie them here anymore. She looked over at the crowd, then back at him. You helped break their chains. Then Warwick's gaze landed on one of the prisoners, just a few meters in front of him. Brent, he asked. The man snapped his head toward him as though he'd heard a voice he thought he'd never hear again. Warwick's body ran cold, his mind numbed under the rush of overwhelming thoughts. He went still for a moment, blinking, the only movement he could manage. Then the realization struck. The full weight of acceptance settled over him. His brother was staring right back at him.